Hello guys, welcome back to The Buff Nerd. Where to start? Are you new to IT? Are you fresh on the scene? Are you in the finance industry or the healthcare industry and you're thinking about making a change? If so, then here is my plan of action. And this is for someone who doesn't have any experience or, isn't very familiar with the IT industry in general. As always, unfortunately, sorry for the long gap in communication with you guys. There's been a lot going on, a lot of good things and a lot of very stressful things, but that's life. But anyways, I finally got the time to go through some of the comments that I've gotten under some of my videos, and I noticed that I'm getting a lot of traffic from a lot of newbies. And by newbies, I mean those dudes who, are thinking about getting into the IT industry. They may have been in another industry for a number of years and they're just looking to make a change, or they're just trying to find something that is future-proof or something that they can't get laid off or fired from because of, a pandemic. But yeah, I've gotten a lot of questions and a lot of inquiries asking for a point in the right direction when it comes to getting things going, or pointing out the kind of study material which will be best to attain one of these entry-level certs like the Comptia A+ or the Net Plus. Or I've been getting questions like, as a newcomer, would it be best to go for the Net Plus or the CCNA? Over the next couple of weeks, I plan on answering all of those questions, so be patient with me. First thing we're going to tackle. We're going to tackle the question for the beginners who, don't have any experience. They do not have any kind of knowledge of the IT industry. They know that they just want to do some things with computers, or, they're just making a change in their career. This video specifically is going to be tailored towards them, because I remember when I was, a newbie, I was looking for a sense of direction. I was looking for the best avenue that I could take in order to break into the IT industry. And I'm going to make that video first because, I know that that's something that I would look for if I was in their shoes as well. That's something that I did look for, actually, when I was in their shoes a few years back. Okay, so here we go. So when it comes to this question of what certification should I get first in order to, land my first gig, or, how do I go down the network route, or how do I go down the cybersecurity route, and all of these things, in my opinion, what I would say is take a step back and focus on the basics first. And what I mean by that is, instead of trying to get the Network Plus first or the Security Plus first with no experience, and you haven't went to college for computer science or cybersecurity or anything along those lines, I think you should focus on the basics, which would be getting the Comptia A+. And of course, the reason why I would suggest that is because the basics are what create the foundation that allow you to pivot in these other directions. You don't want to focus on networking, as a whole, but not know the hardware behind the computers that you're, connecting to the internet. You don't want to be able to, create a VLAN on a router or a switch, but not know the kind of RAM that's supposed to go into the computer that is supposed to be connecting to the internet. The basics is the most important thing you can focus on when it comes to trying to break into the industry, or when it comes to just trying to get familiar with the components of a computer in order to, get some footing when it comes to getting into the industry. Hey, excuse the change. I had to record this video on multiple days because during recording, I got busy. Alrighty. Now, when it comes to trying to obtain the Comptia A+, one of the best things I could recommend that you can do in order to help secure the cert and understand the fundamentals of a computer, how it connects to the internet, how computers communicate on a network, is by building your own computer. This right here is the first PC I've ever built. It is old reliable. I built this PC back in 2017. This is back before I took any courses, before I got any certifications, before I went through any training. All of this is things that I did in order to, prepare myself for the IT industry when I got out of the military. That's when I built it. I built it while I was in the military during my free time. I saved a couple of pennies. I got about $800 to work with, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna build me a PC, primarily because I had a bunch of friends that had PCs, and I felt out of the loop, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna build a PC, in order to not only just get my hands dirty and, get familiar with PCs, but of course the game. So personally, if I could tell you one thing that you can do in order to set yourself apart from the average beginner and, actually get some hands-on when it comes to the hardware and components that are in a PC, is to build one. What we're gonna do is we're gonna look at some of the components inside to get you guys familiar. One of the things that I would recommend that you do, just to have, in your back pocket in the event that you ever need it, is to grab, sorry about all the cords, a computer toolkit. Alrighty, let's see. Alright, so this is my computer toolkit. This is a kit that I use whenever I'm working on my computer, or if I'm adding components, removing components, or for whatever reason, if I have to do a favor for someone else, I make sure that I have this on hand, always in my bag, so that I'm always prepared. It has a range of things. It has a screwdriver with adjustable bits. It has wire cutters, and most importantly, it has a static wristband. See, anti-static wrist wrap is important because it prevents your body from unnecessarily building up electricity, so that you don't damage components inside of the PC with electrostatic discharge. It grounds you to the equipment that you're using, so that doesn't happen. For example, let's say, I'm standing on this carpet. What happens when you slide across the carpet too much? You start to build up static electricity. Let's say I'm standing on this carpet, and without thinking about it, I'm moving around a lot. I'm inside of the computer, or whatever the case may be. You can mess around and accidentally, completely destroy a capacitor or a resistor or something that's connected to the motherboard, which will, turn this big thing into a giant brick. Okay, time to look at some of the cool stuff. All right, got on our wristband to make sure that we're nice and grounded. Got it hooked up to the case, which is a good place to put it. On the surface, these are all the components you will likely need when it comes to setting up and building your own PC. I know from right here it looks very confusing, but I'm gonna take a couple of these things out and briefly describe what they are, just to give you a frame of reference. All right, first thing we're gonna look at is the graphics card, because everybody who builds PCs for gaming knows that this is one of the most important pieces to this entire puzzle. Alrighty, just undid a screw there, and now we're gonna go ahead and pick it up. Let's see. Yeah, took these pieces off, or these plugs. Let's go ahead and, oh boy. Alrighty, what we have here is a GTX or GeForce GTX 1080 Ti. At the time that I bought it, this was $1,000 graphics card. I had a good friend who was selling it, and he ended up selling it to me for half the price. And what I had prior to it was a GTX 1060, which was, one of the decent graphic cards back in 2017. Now it's a bit dated, but back then it was nice. And, with the passing times, I had to buy something that was going to be an upgrade. Oh man, I'm losing focus. Sorry about that. All right, we're gonna put that big boy right there. And let's talk about this right here. This here is your power supply. Depending on how beefy your PC is, will determine, how intensive a power supply you will need in order for everything to work properly. There's, websites, and there's specifications when it comes to different components that'll let you know exactly what you need. For me, this CX600 was just enough in order to keep up with this bad baby right here. Outside of that, this big mess right here, this thing with all of these capacitors and diodes and resistors and all of this good stuff, this is your motherboard. This is the brains of the operations, in my opinion. This is where all of your components connect to, either directly or through different devices. This is where your RAM goes. This is where the graphics card gets connected to. This is where the CPU is, which is that big thing back there. Ooh, excuse me, which is that big thing back there. This right here is the cooler that I bought for the CPU because, my PC can get rather hot. Having a decent motherboard is another important thing that you have to make sure that you have, because it determines the compatibility of all of the other components. If you don't have a good motherboard, but you have a beefy GPU, then you're going to be working against yourself when it comes to trying to build a PC. Okay. So that's your motherboard. What's next is the CPU. It's kind of hard to see, and it'd be a pain in the ass to kind of take this big cooler off of it. But long story short, okay, am I grounded right? Yep, I'm grounded right. Okay, so long story short, it's right here. Yeah, the processor that I got for this particular PC is kind of dated, but it's a AMD FX 8350 Black Edition, and it's a 4 gigahertz, 4.2 wind turbo. It's a processor. It's pretty good. It overheats, according to the different reviews, which is one of the reasons why I got this big cooler. The cooler is optional. Usually, when you buy a CPU, it'll come with a cooler of some kind. But I just wanted to make sure by buying this big cooler right here. Not that much. It only costs about 30-40 bucks if I'm not mistaken. Slide card things right there. That's your RAM. For this particular PC, I got 2 sticks of RAM. Only one is required, but I got 2 because gaming can sometimes get a little intense, and your RAM will take a dive if you got a lot of other things going on in the background. I'll pull them out in a second for you to give you a real idea of what they look like. All right, here is a better visual so that you can see exactly what it looks like. All right, yep, Fury. It's Hyper DDR3L. One thing that you're going to learn when you're studying for the A+ is the different types of RAM, the different slots, and the needs for them. I can't go over that right now, but I'll save that for a future video. Alrighty, got that back in. For the most part, those are the real essential things that you need when it comes to building a PC. Some of the other things you'll definitely need to, when it comes to trying to load an operating system onto the PC that you build is a DVD player. These are cheap. You can get one for like 15-20 bucks depending on where you are. And SD drive. Mine is very small. You can't really see it. I'd have to go to the other side of my PC in order to unplug it in order to pull it out. It's a very small solid state drive. It was only 1 terabyte. That's what I ended up buying at the time. I wish that I'd have bought a bigger one because I had to buy a external hard drive, which is that thing over there. Hey, look at my ugly buddy right there. He watches me and makes sure I do all my work. Other than that, the only thing you really have to worry about in this situation is the kind of operating system that you would want to load on this thing. And that's something that you'll learn about in the Comptia A+ as well. The different types of operating systems, it being Linux, Windows. You're not gonna put, Mac OS on this unless you use a VM, but that's a story for another day. Long story short, this is, a quick rundown of the PC that I built prior to getting certifications, prior to, even think about joining the IT field. And this kind of gave me a jump start and, helped me become ahead of the game when it came to these other, new dudes and new guys or new gals that were trying to join the industry. I remember this one time when I was in the middle of an interview, and this is after I got the A+ certification. One of the tests they told me to do when I was trying to get this help desk role was troubleshoot a PC. This PC will not turn on. It's plugged in, but for some reason it's still not receiving power. And it's because I built this PC and was very familiar, with some of the issues that could go on when it comes to trying to get your PC going. I was able to determine the problem with no effort whatsoever. All I did was open up the PC and the power supply wasn't plugged in properly. That's the only issue that it was. So, that's just something to keep in mind. And also, something that I think that everyone who is on the verge of trying to break into the IT industry or is just interested in computers and looking for a way in, or something to just help them hone their skills, building a PC would be the way to go. Now we're gonna put everything back together and we're gonna watch it boot up just to give you guys a visual of how things look. Alrighty, we got everything hooked back up. We got the graphics card back in place. RAM's good, the cooler's good. Oh man, it's so dusty. I gotta clean this thing off one of these days. But anyways, all right, it's plugged in. Let's go ahead and hit the power button. Watch the sparks fly. Good deal, good deal. 1 beep is good, depending on your PC and your motherboard. All right, everything is working just fine. I need to work on my cable management. It's been a while since I've been inside this thing, so excuse the mess. But long story short, this is what I did in order to gear myself up to study and test to get the A+ certification. Now, of course, all of this is going to help you pass the 1001 certification. The Comptia A+ 1002 certification is more of the software, when you're in Windows, playing around in the command line, some of the commands you can do, and how to troubleshoot certain issues. but you know, that's a story for another day. This video specifically is supposed to be for the beginners, just to get everybody up to speed. Well, not even up to speed, but just to get everybody on the sheet of music that I used in order to prepare for the A+ certification. So here is a video for you newbies that are thinking about, you know, getting into the IT industry, or, you know, you're not sure exactly how you want to gauge it, you know, what angle you want to approach, what would be the best way to, you know, get your hands dirty and, you know, get familiar with computers and, you know, how they function. And also, of course, if you're getting geared up to take the Comptia A+ 1001 exam, this is one of the, you know, things you can do to, you know, get trained up and get familiar with some components that are inside of a PC and some of the things that, you know, allow PCs to function. Taking the time to build your own PC is not only educational, but it's fun, to be completely honest. That's probably why getting into the IT industry, or at least getting familiar with, you know, a computer in general, came off so easy, because it being so fun to build a PC was one of the things that helped me leverage getting employment when it came to me getting into the IT industry. At the time when I was fresh and new and green, I was so, you know, amazed, and, you know, I was so infatuated with the components and all the equipment that I bought in order to build the PC that I spoke to that when it came to job interviews. That's one of the things that helped me land my first role, actually. Since I built my first PC and I put it together myself, I was able to call back, you know, some of the components that I purchased. Of course, when you go to these interviews, you're probably going to get interviewed by someone who is either a Star Wars fan or a gamer. And of course, the gamers will ask you, oh, well, what kind of GPU do you have? And then this is where you can have one of those callbacks, and you're like, oh, I got a GeForce or an NVIDIA 1080 Ti or something along those lines. And that will not only impress them, but that will let them know that you're, you know, very enthusiastic when it comes to getting into the field or getting the job role that you're applying for. This would be my advice to the newbies. If you're new, build a PC. Not only will this help you get geared up to take the Comptia A+ certification or get leverage when it comes to interviewing for a IT job, you'll also have a new PC at the end of it. This is a win-win situation for anyone who's thinking about getting into the IT industry. This is the best way that you can study for an entry-level cert like the Comptia A+ as well. Some of the websites where you can buy these components would be, well, I got all of my components from Newegg. Newegg is a site that has all kinds of electronics, almost anything that you can think of that you would need to purchase in order to build a PC. There's another website called the PC Part Picker. This website is perfect for someone who's building a PC and they're not very familiar with if, you know, this component is compatible with this case, or if this, you know, power supply has enough juice in order to power this graphics card. That website helps you pinpoint the exact components that you want to purchase, and it will tell you if whether or not they're compatible, or if you need to switch parts, or if you need to pick a different part, or, you know, anything along those lines. I'm gonna list those sites below if any of you are interested. For this video, that's all I got for you guys right now. If you like the content, go ahead and like. If you are interested in more videos, go ahead and subscribe, or wherever it is on the screen, and comment in the section below if you have any questions, if you appreciate the content, or whatever the case may be. It has been a very busy month or two for me, both life-wise and work-wise, and creating content on a regular basis was something that I was not able to do, unfortunately, and I apologize. But to make up for my absence, well, it's not really making up, but the excuse I have for my absence is pretty sick. So guys, I will likely be starting a new job on the 16th of May. Stay tuned for the next video for me to go into details on exactly what the job is, and, you know, all the things that has happened over the course of the last month or so that led to me getting this job. Until then, stay safe, stay positive, learn everything, take breaks, and get the gains.
In the gym or in the books.